Stop hoping for completion of anything in life. I think as human beings, we always like to tell ourselves that once I achieve X, I'll be happy, or once I achieve Y, I'll be happy. But looking back on my past kind of like experiences, one thing that I've kind of noticed is that I've never truly been super happy, or I've never truly been super satisfied with like where I'm at right now, whether it's with my body, with my business, with my relationships, with my health. I'm never truly satisfied. And this is a conclusion that I've kind of like reached only up until recently. And the reason why I've kind of like come to this conclusion is looking back on my past experiences. I always used to tell myself that, okay, once I maybe get a scholarship to play soccer at a university, then I'll be happy. Or once I achieve my six-pack abs that I've always wanted from like a childhood, I'll be happy. Or once going with social media, once I achieve 100,000 followers on whether it's Instagram or on YouTube or on TikTok or on Snapchat, I'll be happy. But I can confidently sit here and say to you guys today that, I mean, yes, I'm happy, 100%. I'm proud of what I've done so far, but I am by no means satisfied with anything in life. And I think that's the entire point of life. You guys have probably heard this numerous times before, but I 100% agree with this. It's not about the destination in terms of like reaching the top of the mountain, but it is all about the journey getting there. Because realistically speaking, it's like once you hit that arbitrary top, let's say it's the top of the mountain, let's say you have this big goal in mind of you want to compete in like a bodybuilding show, or you want to compete for like a marathon or whatever it may be. Once you've kind of like done the hard work of getting there and you've like done the event, you're finished, it's like you may have a couple seconds of like accomplishments, of feeling joyful, of feeling really happy, but then the very next moment you're like, okay, now what? What's next? Like, is that it? Like, am I done with life? Is it game over? Like, is that it? Like, no, of course not. Like now, hopefully, if you have kind of like a growing mindset, it's like, okay, well, on to the next goal, on to the next goal. Let's say your first goal is to lose 20 pounds and you reach that goal. It's like, okay, awesome, time to celebrate, do some fun stuff. But then the very next day, it's like, okay, well, now what? I've lost 20 pounds. Am I done now? Have I completed my health mission? I mean, I like to hope not, because especially when it comes to health, it can be very easily lost, right? Same thing with a relationship. Like the entire point of health and a relationship is not to just hit this arbitrary point and then boom, done, game over, no more need to work on it. Like no, the entire point of health and a relationship and most things worth having in life is to kind of like keep it going, right? These are infinite games with no real deadline, which means that you have to expand the amount of time that you actually do the thing, right? Because if you set deadlines to specific things, especially to games that aren't supposed to have a deadline, you're just kind of cutting yourself short. And before you know it, when it comes to the health example, you can very easily lose your health. So going back to the previous example, let's say you wanted to lose 20 pounds and over the course of a couple months, you reach that goal. You lost 20 pounds. A lot of people make the mistake of getting complacent now, letting their foot go off the gas and just like not prioritizing their health as much, right? And then week by week, month by month, you're slowly but surely getting a bit too complacent, eating a couple more snacks, eating a couple more sweets here and there. And before you know it, you've gained all the weight back again. And that is because you created a deadline. And that is because you put finite frameworks into an infinite game. And so what I want you guys to do instead with any game worth playing is to set goal after goal after goal after goal. And if you do not like that idea, I am very sorry, but that's the entire point of life. Same thing you can say with maybe at work. Let's say your career. Let's say you've always wanted this job. You got the job. Congratulations. Now what? Okay, well now let's try to get this promotion now. Now what? Okay, let's get another promotion. And then from there, maybe let's make the goal of maybe owning the entire company, right? It's like this never ending game. And it's like once you stop like setting goals for yourself, once you stop wanting to evolve, once you stop wanting to become better, that's when depression happens. That's when you kind of like feel a lack of enthusiasm. That's kind of like when you get a lack of excitement. And that's when you kind of like ask yourself, like, what is the purpose here? Because once you stop doing something, once you stop striving for a certain goal in anything in life, you become depressed very easily. I can tell this firsthand. I went through this phase and I've made this mistake before when going back to what I said previously, once I hit X goal, I'll be happy. And clearly, well, like I said before, I'm not. And so going over my story really quickly. When I first grew up, I grew up in the Netherlands, Holland, small country in Europe. Soccer, or I guess football, is big there. It's absolutely massive. So I grew up watching football. I grew up playing football. When I moved to Canada at the age of 11, I continued playing football. It was my life. I wanted to become a pro football player. I worked extremely hard all throughout elementary school, high school. I was running, I was practicing, I was lifting weights. I was doing all this stuff to increase my chances of becoming becoming a pro football player. I did get the chance or the opportunity or did get a scholarship to play soccer, which was one of my biggest dreams. I did manage to do that. And then basically around COVID time, 2020, the season got canceled and I got sent back home from campus, from university, and I quit playing soccer cold turkey. This was kind of like a weird stage in my life because I was exercising at the time. I was really into like bodybuilding. I was really into like lifting weights. But the reason for that was to help me become a better athlete, become a better football player, right? But then once the season got canceled, and also really quickly, the reason why I kind of quit playing football cold turkey was because I was not as good as I thought I was. Like, I really worked hard for this. And then when I got into my first couple years of university playing college football, I actually did not play a single game because I wasn't good enough. Like, simply put, like, they had like this list of like 18 players that would travel every weekend to the games. I would not even make the list of the 18 players. So obviously when you play football, there's like 11 players on the field and then they have like whatever 6 or 7 subs. I did not even make it to the bench. That's how, oh man, it sounds bad for saying this, like, that's how bad I was, which is a big kind of like, wow, like reality check, because growing up all my life, like, I played it all the time and I worked so hard for this. I was exercising, I was working out on the field, staying late after practice. I was doing all this stuff. I was optimizing my life, getting my sleep in, eating healthy. I was doing all this stuff. I was even like rewatching all the games, watching game footage to like study all this stuff. And then when I finally kind of like reached university, I just got slapped in the face and basically I was not good enough, which really sucked. And so anyway, fast forward to 2020, it almost was a blessing in disguise because I knew at that time I wasn't going to be a pro. Like, no chance. If I can't even make it to the bench on my university team, what are the chances of me actually becoming a pro, right? It's like, no chance, right? And so when 2020 happened, I got sent back home, and again, it was a weird kind of stage in my life because I quit playing soccer cold turkey. So I keep going back to soccer, like, sorry, football, soccer, same thing. Anyway, I basically just like only did weights at the time. I got this big home gym. I got a barbell, squat rack, bench, dumbbells with a bunch of weights, and I was just exercising, working out in my basement while doing school online. I was working a couple of jobs as well, and basically my first kind of purpose in life was to become a pro soccer player. And then once that kind of like purpose, I guess, fulfilled itself, like, I did my absolute best I could in terms of like, I was doing all the hard work, and then it just ended up not happening, which I think is part of life. Like, sometimes you'll work really hard for a certain thing, but then realize that maybe genetically or environmentally, you're not in the right place at the right time, and you simply do not have what it takes to become this type of person, right? Which is, I think, is totally fine and part of life. I definitely do not regret my past 20 years of trying to become this person, because I was trying to become this pro soccer player, because I did learn a lot about myself, and I just learned a lot about the journey of like trying to get there, right? And so when I quit doing that, my second purpose in life was wanting to become like a bodybuilder. So I really got addicted to the process. I was tracking my lifts, I was tracking my food every single day. I was like really like prioritizing my sleep. I was trying to like reduce my stress levels. I was just like living as optimally as I could to become like a bodybuilder. I never wanted to become like a pro bodybuilder, because obviously in order to become a pro, you do have to take like anabolics, you do have to take like the drugs, right? Which is something I've never really been into. I've always been about like health and longevity, and I know by doing that, that's obviously gonna put your health and longevity at risk. So I was never really like willing to like do the dark side of things, but I did want to like naturally do it, right? So I did compete in my first show a year later, 2021, which was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. Just the working out, the eating, all that stuff, right? I got ingrained in this lifestyle. And so fast forward 2 years later now, I've still been in love with lifting weights. I absolutely love every single workout I do. I love progressively overloading. I love getting my sleep in. I love eating the food. I love doing the cardio. I love all of it, right? And so as of recently, I would say 2 weeks ago, because like I said, I do not want to go down the dark path. I can still compete naturally for sure, which I probably end up doing a couple more times. But because I've done it already in the past before, it almost like, okay, I crossed it off the list, like what's next, right? And it's like the next thing for me now is actually running a marathon, which I never expected me to do. Although to be fair, in high school when I was like really practicing to become a better football player, a better soccer player. I was going on a lot of runs. I was like running during lunchtime. I was running on the track field. And obviously when you play football, there's a lot of running involved. So I naturally have always been like a really good runner. And I went for my first run like a couple of weeks ago, just spontaneously. I didn't know I was gonna do a marathon. I just randomly ran for some reason, whatever. I did that and I felt amazing. Like my stamina was still super high. I felt like on top of the road. I was like, oh my goodness, I can just keep on running for the entire time, which was amazing. Did like a 30-minute run. And then literally the day after, one of my friends came over and he was like, dude, I'm running this marathon in Austin in February. I'm like, no way. And then just spontaneously out of nowhere, I'm like, dude, I'll do it with you. He's like, dude, why? I'm like, dude, I went for a run yesterday. I felt amazing. I think I can do this. And so he's like, okay, whatever. So I signed up for my first marathon, which I think will be February 18th in Austin, Texas. So that's super exciting. And so that's kind of like my new kind of like purpose in life, is to run this marathon. And so as you guys can tell just by the evolution or by my own kind of journey, is that I started off wanting to become a pro soccer player. And then from there, once I've kind of like unveiled that purpose, or I've kind of like did that part of my life, the next thing was to become never really a pro bodybuilder, but it was mainly just to like do my whole bodybuilding thing, right? Which I still to this day absolutely love. I'm still working out. I'm still in the gym doing bodybuilding type of workouts. I still love that. But my next kind of mission in life, my next kind of purpose is to run a marathon. And all this stuff that I've done so far is a challenge. And it's just like on to the next thing, right? Once I do my marathon after February, it's like, what's next? I may love it so much that I'll probably do another marathon. And maybe if I love it that much, I'll just try to get better at it. So maybe if my time was X amount of time, maybe next time I do it, maybe do it in a shorter amount of time, right? Just continuously get better and better and better. And maybe, who knows, maybe after the marathon, I may do like a Ironman or something like that, right? When you do, I think it's biking, swimming, and running a marathon, all in like one event, which sounds crazy, but it's just constantly just like challenging yourself, constantly looking for challenges, because if you're not doing that as a human being, like you're not evolving, like period. So I think it's really important. And again, like it doesn't have to be like physical challenges, although I think that's really, really important. Just like build up your mindset, build up your health. As going back to what I said earlier, it could be something similar. It could be something that you want to do maybe with work instead. Maybe you want to work really hard to like get this certain job. And then once you get that job, maybe look for the promotion, and then for another promotion, and then for another promotion. And then after a couple of years and decades of working that job, maybe you want to become like the owner of that job, or like co-owner, or whatever it may be, right? So just constantly looking for ways to like improve, and just like constantly having like a thing in mind that you want to achieve, and knowing that there's always going to be something that you want to achieve. Like there's never going to be a time when you're like at the top of the mountain and you overlook everything and you're like, okay, I've completed everything, I am God. Like just like know that that day will never happen. And as long as you're content, and as long as you're kind of like comfortable knowing that you'll never actually really be satisfied, I think that is the moments that you start winning in life. And I think as long as you're okay with that, and as long as you kind of like accept that, that is the moment when you're playing the game and that you have won. As long as you kind of like keep playing the game, I think you're winning.